You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Bay Area, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show. You might know me from there on KMBR. And tonight, the Splash Brothers, Steph and Klay, knew what needed to be done in Houston and showed up and showed out with 58 big-time points as the Golden State Warriors led wire to wire against the Houston Rockets. 133-110 is your final in this one, and we gotta talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis. His best game as a pro so far, a career-high 20 points, and he just keeps getting better and better, rewarding Steve Kerr for putting him in that starting lineup. And with the win tonight, the Warriors sweep the season series against the Houston Rockets and essentially secure a spot in the NBA play-in tournament. A little bit more needs to happen for them to officially clinch, but they have all but locked that down after this win tonight. We'll get into all of the permutations, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel. If you aren't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button right now. Thanks if you're also listening to us on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Cyrus does a great job. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment matter more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Klay freaking Thompson, man, came out like a man possessed tonight. He had 21 in the first half. Klay finished with 29 and was on fire from three-point range. 7 for 11, 11 for 15 from the field. Klay could not be stopped, and he was hitting this over tight defense a lot of the times in this one. Steph also got the hot hand going early. You saw that crazy running hook shot in the lane, like full speed, didn't even slow down. Just kind of flipped it up. I mean, that was one of the best hook shots I've seen in my life. And it came from 6'3" Stephen Curry. Is a wild. Is there anything that Wardell, Stephen Curry cannot do on a basketball court? I'm going to say no. He can do everything and then some that you've ever seen done on a basketball court. Curry continues to prove that tonight. Curry also 29 points and 9 of 14 from the field. Curry 9 for 9 from the free throw line, got to the charity stripe quite often, and this one was actually getting some calls that he usually does not get. We always moan and complain about all of the Steph Curry missed calls on this podcast. Well, tonight, I feel like we got to point it out when he does get his calls going his way. 9 free throw attempts at the line. Curry was getting to the line in the fourth quarter a lot in this one. Great showing by the Warriors in a game that they had to win, a wire-to-wire win, dominating fashion. They win 23 points. Their biggest lead of the game was also the final score. The longest run of the night was only a 9-0 run for the Warriors. So they, had pretty efficiently dominated this game. And the weirdest part about this was the turnovers. They had 15 turnovers in the first half and still led by 15 points at halftime. Crazy start to this game. It was literally insane. I mean, I've never seen a game where a team was turning the ball over so much and just shooting the lights out. Just they fixed all their mistakes with excellent shooting tonight. Did not matter how many times the Warriors turned the ball over. When you're shooting over 50% from three and over 60% from the field, especially in that first half, that's what the Warriors were doing. I mean, giving the ball away on every possession. And these turnovers, man, these turnovers were not like the Rockets were doing anything special on defense. It was just the Warriors playing too fast, trying to force things, throwing the ball away, making poor decisions with the basketball. And we've seen this time and time again. The Warriors, for whatever reason, that first quarter seems to be really tough for them to get through. I mean, I need to do some research on this one, but first quarter turnovers, I mean, just from off the top of my head, have been such a big problem for this team. It seems like every night I'm saying, they settled down in the second half after turning the ball over, 587 times in the first half. And that's what it felt like again tonight. In this one, the Warriors kept letting the Rockets kind of hang around in the first half. And I started to get a little nervous when they went on that run in the second quarter, fueled by Jabari Smith Jr., who led the Rockets with 14 points at halftime. Jabari Smith also finished with 24 points to lead the Rockets in this one. He played pretty well tonight, as did Jalen Green, who, he had an okay night tonight, 4 of 12, but he's been on a tear lately. In the Rockets missing Şengün, so they weren't whole tonight. In this game, essentially eliminated the Rockets from playoff contention. With the Warriors owning the tiebreaker, the Warriors are now 4 games above the Houston Rockets in the win-loss standings with the tiebreaker that essentially pushes that to a 5-game lead, considering the Rockets would need to finish with a better record than the Warriors to make the postseason. There's only 6 games left in the season. One more Rockets loss or one more Warriors win clinches that final 10th seed play-in tournament berth, and we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief. For now, the Warriors have 6 games, essentially, to figure out what their postseason lineup is going to be. And we got to get into that a little bit later on the show. Trayce Jackson-Davis making a huge case for his candidacy to stay in that starting lineup. Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins, can they coexist? Interesting question. We got to break that down a little bit later in this one. But some more notes from tonight's win in Houston. Brandon Podziemski, interesting little tidbit here, now leads the NBA. If you're keeping your Brandon Podziemski charge counter, up to date. If you're tallying, keeping the tally marks on the whiteboard, he is now at 36. Put another mark on that whiteboard, another tally mark up there as he leads the NBA in charges taken. Jalen Brunson still in second with 29, and Brandon Podziemski. What are you going to say about this kid? 248 plus minus on the season, just playing great basketball, not looking like a rookie at all, playing like a veteran who knows exactly what his role in this team is. And there's a lot of guys on this team that have filled into that space. A lot of young guys on this team. Moses Moody, wise beyond his years, continuing to have great games tonight. They didn't really need his scoring a ton. He snaps his streak of games scoring in double figures. He finished with 9 tonight. You saw that kind of, that bucket and garbage time at the end there, that little Euro step. It was like a 4-on-1 and Moody still laid it in. I love me some Moses Moody, man. And I know a lot of Warriors fans do. A lot of Dubs fans always clamoring for him to get more minutes. He just doesn't make mistakes. He hits open shots, plays good hustle defense. The entire time Wiggins was out, we kept talking about Moody as being kind of like the replacement Wiggs, and he did such a good job in that role. Obviously, he is not as dynamic of a scorer or as dynamic of an athlete as a guy like Andrew Wiggins, but Moody does so many things very, very well on this basketball court, does not turn the ball over a ton, and is a pretty solid defender, gets to the line. Like, Moody does all of the little things that you want in a role player, and most importantly, doesn't make mistakes, doesn't turn the ball over. I'm expecting we're going to see more and more minutes from Moody as we get towards the playoffs, because you need guys like that in your lineup, guys you can trust, guys who aren't going to make the wrong play or a bad play. You need guys that you can essentially just trust to be out there with Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and not screw it up. And that's essentially what Moses Moody does. He does everything that's asked of him, doesn't ever try and play out of himself, knows what he can do and can contribute to a basketball team and plays within that. He is so good for this Warriors team. I really hope that Steve Kerr rewards him with some more minutes into the playoffs, into the play-in tournament as we wind this regular season down. And, the second half, the Warriors just continued to pour it on. I was kind of noticing other things, because the Warriors, they didn't feel threatened by the Rockets at all in this second half. They won going away in this one. A couple nice big alley-oops from Trayce Jackson-Davis. The homie Jordan checking in saying, Lob City by the Bay. Chris Paul bringing Lob City to San Francisco. And, I'm one point in time that would have made me puke, absolutely just puke on spot. But I don't hate it, man. I think it's amazing what Chris Paul can do with these big men in his career. Trayce Jackson-Davis is just another testament to how elite Chris Paul is. And I'm not trying to take anything away from TJD. Like, he's a great player in his own right. Without Chris Paul, I'm sure he would also blossom in the NBA, but not like this, man. Chris Paul has completely unlocked Trayce Jackson-Davis. We'll get into that a little more on the other side in this one. A couple more notes from the game tonight. The way that the Warriors won going away in the fourth quarter was really good to see. And I mean, Klay didn't really score a ton in the second half. He finished the first half with 21 points, put up 8 in the second half. Steph Curry turned the scoring on a little bit more in the second half as well. But Trayce Jackson-Davis in his 20 points, career high 20 points for Trayce. He is playing his best basketball of his young career at the right time. And the sky looks like it's the limit. Every time I think that I know who essentially this guy's going to turn into, what his cap, what his ceiling in the NBA might be, he blows my expectations out of the water and makes me reevaluate and rethink exactly who this guy is and who he can be for the Warriors going forward. We'll break all that down and more next. I got to talk about if Kuminga and Wiggins can coexist as well. We'll get into all these permutations on the other side. Stick with us on the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will be right back. Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug directly into your existing television set. It provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the NCAA basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV or the Warriors playoff stretch. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On, meaning you can get me, Triple E, and the Locked On Warriors postcast right in your living room. And I guess if you're interested, you can also get most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep you up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and so much more. Not to mention great news, TV, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. The sports calendar is loaded, and FanDuel is making it even more exciting to get in on all of the action because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet the tourney, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors essentially clinch a playoff berth in the NBA play-in tournament, 133-110 win over the Houston Rockets, who now trail the Warriors by 4 games plus the tiebreaker, so essentially 5 games, with only 6 games left to play in the NBA regular season. One more win or one more loss. One more win from the Warriors or one more loss from the Houston Rockets essentially clinches this berth for the Warriors. And there were a couple big reasons tonight. The Splash Brothers, they did not play well against the Mavericks in that Warriors win. The lowest combined point total in a Warriors win between the Splash Brothers since like 2009. And they came out and made a statement tonight. Elite players do not have back to backs. They combined for 50 plus tonight, 58 points between the two. Both guys go for 29. In the plus minus of the starting lineup was good God, man. Every single player in the Warriors starting lineup, a plus minus above 20. Great all around performance from the Dubs tonight. Everyone contributed. Draymond did his usual thing with 8 boards, 5 assists, pitched in a steal and a block. And Trayce Jackson-Davis, though, man, 20 points, 4-4 from the free throw line, 8 of 10 from the field in 28 minutes played, snagged 5 boards and 4 assists, a steal and a block for a big man. This guy passes so well. You heard him talking about it at the halftime interview if you were watching on NBC Sports Bay Area. They snagged TJD, and he basically told Fitz and Buki straight up, he has such great synergy with Klay Thompson, and says they're always looking for each other out there on the court. And you saw it tonight. TJD passing out of the post, finding Klay in the corner. 4-3. That was such just a goggles level pass. Like he didn't hit the goggles celebration, but he should have after that one. That was a dime, man. Absolutely beautiful. And it's so rare to see a big man who has that kind of vision and touch. It is excellent to see something like that from Trayce Jackson-Davis, especially in a night when he pours in 20 points from the field, a career high, his prior career high. He had scored 19 points twice in this young career. And it seems like every week this guy is doing something new that we haven't seen from him on the court before. 28 minutes. Only 3 other Warriors played more minutes than he did tonight. And this was someone who we had to worry about his usage not that long ago, maybe a month and a half ago. Steve Kerr said he wanted to start incorporating more Trayce Jackson-Davis into the lineup in the second half of games and things like that, just to get him more run on the floor. And before you knew it, due to injuries and just based on the way he's been playing, he gets thrust into the starting lineup. And this might be the Warriors' best defensive starting 5 that you could have once you put him in that lineup with Draymond Green. I mean, I expect him to continue to hold down a starting spot even when Jonathan Kuminga comes back. Again, Kuminga, we should note, was supposed to come back tonight. That was what all the reports were. And then he was downgraded a couple hours before this one, still dealing with that knee tendonitis. And it's really interesting when you start to look at how the Warriors fare without him and how they fare without Andrew Wiggins. We'll have to get into that a little bit later. But point being, I think Trayce Jackson-Davis has done enough to earn a spot in the starting lineup. I don't know who you send to the bench. I don't know how to answer that question. There's so many different combinations you can use with the starting lineup. And maybe that's the solution, is that there is no one solution for how the Warriors can go forward with the starting lineup. Maybe you don't need to know exactly who those 5 guys are every night. When the Warriors have this many guys who are playing at this level, all kind of close to each other, no one's really separating. Obviously, Steph is Steph and Klay is Klay and Draymond is Draymond. But past those guys, who can you really rely on in the playoffs? Like, yeah, Wiggins is the guy who we're supposed to rely on, but can you really rely on him? I don't know if you can. Kuminga, same thing. He's been better, but he's still young. He's still a very young player. Who knows what you're going to get from him in the playoffs? It's a mixed bag when guys, especially guys like Kuminga, who have so much unbridled, just raw talent and athleticism. And a lot of those guys try to do a little bit too much in the postseason. So who can you rely on going forward? For my money, after Steph, Klay, and Draymond, the guy who I trust the most on this team right now is Trayce Jackson-Davis. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this guy in, again, 28 minutes, 20 points, he is dominant. When is the last time that the Warriors have had a dominant big man like this, that they can play at the 5, that can score, that can defend, that can pass? Like, he does it all. Absolutely everything you'd want from a big man. Trayce Jackson-Davis provides it all in one package. The screen game, the lob threat that he is with Chris Paul on the floor. In the more time that he plays with Draymond Green, can you imagine if you're putting bigs in a high pick and roll with Draymond Green and Trayce Jackson-Davis, and you got 2 opposing bigs pulling out, I mean, that of the paint and stepping up into the 3-point circle. Like, so many Warriors are going to score from this type of action. You're going to have so many baseline cuts open for guys like Wiggins and Klay and Steph and Kuminga, and Trayce is going to get a ton of easy buckets inside too. Draymond Green is going to be able to kind of be the point general in a situation like that. And they can do this with so many different guys. Like, Draymond Green can run that action. Steph Curry can run that action. Chris Paul can run that action. They can even start setting screens for Wiggins with Trayce. I mean, this completely unlocks a whole new set of potential plays the Warriors can run offensively. It gives them a whole nother dimension on offense. And obviously you see what he provides defensively. Another block for Trayce tonight. I think he's got 10 this week so far. He is playing out of his mind lately. He has just been so consistent for the Warriors, and it's right at the right time. The Warriors have the NBA's longest winning streak right now, 6-game win streak for the Dubs. They're the hottest team in basketball right now. And since January, they are either tied or right there with the Celtics. I forgot to look at what the Celtics have done in the last couple of days, but the Warriors have some of the most wins in the NBA since January. I mean, they are playing their best basketball. Their road record is insane. In the last like 18 games, they're 15-3 on the road. You guys remember that loss to Atlanta when Steph had 60 plus, and then they came back the next night against Brooklyn in Brooklyn, and the Warriors won a really gritty, tough defensive game. And we've been pointing to this all season long as kind of the turning point for this Warriors team, especially defensively. And if you remember, that was our very first Locked On Warriors postcast. So I'm not saying it's the Locked On Warriors postcast that is responsible for this Warriors road performance, this Warriors road dominance, but I'm not going to say it's not responsible for it. You know what I mean? So take that with, take that for what you will. But point being, in their last 18 road games, 15-3, 15-3. And if we had told you back in February when the Warriors were going to Brooklyn to play the Nets that they were going to finish the season with 15 plus wins on the road, you would have told me I was insane. You would have told me that this team is so up and down. How in the hell are they going to win 15 of their next 18 road games? It doesn't make any sense at all. But they've done it, and they've done it again without Kuminga tonight. They haven't had Kuminga during the duration of this win streak, and they're on fire right now, man. They are clicking on all cylinders. You do have a kind of tough end of the season. You do get the Jazz twice, and you get the Trailblazers once, so that's nice. But you also play the Dallas Mavericks, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the New Orleans Pelicans. Three teams the Warriors are looking up to in the Western Conference playoff standings, and you will see all three of those teams down the stretch in these last couple of weeks of the regular season, starting with the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow back in Chase Center. The Warriors only 3 more games at home, that one against the Mavericks. Then they play the Pelicans on April 12th at home and close out the season, final regular season game of the year on Sunday, April 14th versus the Utah Jazz. That one also a home game as well. Warriors got to find a way to win at home. I don't know how this is still the problem in April, it's April, and the Warriors still haven't been able to figure out how to win at Chase Center. A better road record than home record. The Warriors 23-15 away from Chase Center now. I just hope that they can get to 20 wins at Chase by the end of the season, and that, who knows if they're going to be able to make that happen. So again, the Warriors 133-110 over the Houston Rockets. Tons of good stuff in this one. Trayce Jackson-Davis, career high, 20 points. Steph and Klay combined for 58. The bench contributes a ton. Quinones, Moody, 9 points apiece. Everybody pitching in. Chris Paul, 8 points. GP2, 8 points on 3 of 3 from the field. Everybody doing something in this Warriors win. Dare I say, a strength in numbers type feel again? Does this team make you believe yet? It's a coin flip every day for me. I feel a different way every time I watch this Warriors team. After this one, I'm feeling like they can do some damage in the playoffs, just like Steve Kerr said pregame in this one, that he believes the Warriors are poised to do some damage in the playoffs. But how are they going to do that? We got to talk about, can Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga coexist in the same starting lineup on the floor at the same time? And can the Warriors win with both of these guys on the court? An interesting question. We'll break it down more on the other side. Stick with us here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will be right back. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on that 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year. from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker-dealer. Whew. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and the Warriors 133-110 win over the Houston Rockets essentially clinches a playoff win, just puts them right at the doorstep of it. They need one more win or one more Houston Rockets loss, and then they can officially clinch that 10th play-in, that 10th seed for the play-in tournament in the NBA's Western Conference. You got to expect the Warriors are going to win at least one. I mean, they got the Blazers, they got the Jazz, like twice. They can win at least one of these games. Even if the wheels completely fall off, I feel like the Warriors are going to the playoffs. Thank goodness. We can all breathe a sigh of relief for now. Or can we? Because the Warriors have some questions to answer going forward. And the big one for me, I mean, this lineup now is 6-0 without Jonathan Kuminga with the win tonight. And they're, when you have Wiggins and no Kuminga, 6-0. What's that mean? Well, when you have Kuminga and no Wiggins, they're 7-2. So 7-2 with no Kuminga, 6-0 with no Wiggins. I'm sorry, 7-2 without Wiggins, 6-0 without Kuminga. 7-2 without Wiggins, 6-0 without Kuminga. Pretty interesting because they're 29-32. 29-32 when both play. That is very confusing to me because these are two guys who are two of the Warriors' better players, two of their more versatile players who both, Kuminga's three-point shot leaves something to be desired. He has developed that little mid-range game, but he's going to need to develop a three-point game to be taken super seriously as a scoring threat in this league. Otherwise, you'll see teams kind of defend him, and you have seen this, like teams defend Giannis, like they just dare him to shoot that three and build a wall and say, drive through 3-4 guys. If you really want to get to the rim, try it. And that's essentially how the league started guarding Giannis. And Giannis, to his credit, developed enough of a three-point game to make defenders stay honest, to make defenders have to close out against him from three-point range. Kuminga hasn't done that yet. So if he can add that dynamic to his game, that will take it to another level offensively, and he would be even more of a threat. Wiggins, sometimes he's passive. We all know the story with Wiggins. He's so skilled, so talented, can shoot the ball, can drive, can get other people involved, get rebounds, versatile defender, but it's his mindset sometimes. He just seems checked out. He's not in that aggressive attack mode sometimes. And it's interesting to me because Kerr needs to run plays to get Wiggins involved. Like, we all know this. We've talked about this plenty of times. The Warriors are at their best when Andrew Wiggins is locked in and focused and looking to attack and be aggressive. And the Warriors essentially need to run some plays to get him rolling downhill towards the rim, and that gets him locked in and in the zone and all that. Is there enough space to do that with Andrew Wiggins and also allow Jonathan Kuminga to do his thing and go to work in the post, while also making sure Steph and Klay get all their shots? It might just be too many cooks in the kitchen to have all those guys out there at the same time. You know what I mean? And the balance just doesn't seem to be there. They don't seem to have enough of a shooting threat. Yes, Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time. And when he's out there, that is a massive shooting threat from beyond the arc. But if you ran out a lineup, like let's just say with Kuminga and we've seen plenty of times, Kuminga, Wiggins, Steph, Draymond, and like Brandon Pajemski, whoever that fifth guy is, Brandon Pajemski or whoever it is, Moses Moody, sometimes it's just not enough shooting. I feel like if you're playing these two guys out there, you need Klay Thompson as well. But the problem with that is that then leaves no space for Trayce Jackson-Davis. So who do you send to the bench? Is it Andrew Wiggins? Is it Jonathan Kuminga while he builds back up from injury? Do you put Klay back down to the bench and just try and just put your best five out there regardless of balance? I mean, who do you want out there? I know that for me, I think it's either got to be Wiggins or Kuminga that goes to the bench, because those two guys are the most similar of those four players. You gotta send one of them to the bench, and it gives your bench a next level scoring dynamic. I know that Kuminga had the headbutt with Steve Kerr earlier this season where he demanded more playing time and they got it. They had this, intense heart to heart. I think Kuminga might need to go back to the bench. I'm not saying he needs less minutes. I'm just saying that in those non-Steph minutes, when you got the second unit out there on the court, Jonathan Kuminga could thrive in that. He could continue to push the Warriors bench to new heights, as this has been one of the bench units in the league since Klay went down there. Well, maybe now that when Kuminga comes back, maybe it's time for him to take a seat on the bench and play with the second unit. And I think that could be the solution for the Warriors. Again, I think we're going to see a ton of different starting lineups come down the pipe in this one as the Warriors close out the last 6 games of the season. I think Kerr uses this to see which of these guys is the best combo going forward. And I have to believe that it's going to be a tough task because they haven't really been able to figure it out all season long. But you do have to really be excited that the Warriors are all getting healthy right at the right time. It seems like injuries are just plaguing the NBA right now. I don't even want to get into the 11 separate injuries I've had in my fantasy basketball championship this week. But we all know that there's been so many injuries in the NBA this year. And right now, especially, this is the time of year where guys are resting, trying to get ready, healthy for the playoffs. And the Warriors are getting back to whole, getting healthy all at the right time, playing their best basketball. Again, 6 wins in a row for the Dubs, 15-3 on the road since their win against Brooklyn after that loss to Atlanta. The Warriors on fire right now, on fire. I mean, I feel like we're nitpicking when we're talking about this Kuminga Wiggins discussion, but you kind of got to nitpick as the playoffs get closer. You can't afford the Warriors can't turn the ball over 15 times in the first half in the playoffs. I'll tell you what, you cannot do that and expect to win a postseason game. So the Warriors for sure have some things to shore up in these final 6 games of the regular season. Again, back to Chase Center for their next one against the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. start. We'll come to you live after that one on the Locked On Warriors postcast. And if you're available earlier in the day and you want to tune into some Giants baseball, don't forget, we're coming to you live after the Giants home opener on the Locked On Giants postcast earlier in the day tomorrow, so before that Warriors game. So tune in for both. You get a double dip of Locked On Sports Bay Area postcast tomorrow with me, Triple E. What more can you want in your life, man? Like what can make your Friday even better? I'm out here blessing you with 2 shows on a Friday, man, working hard for the people. So make sure you tune in to both of those shows tomorrow. That's about all the time we got for you in this one. Again, I am Eric Triple E Engel. This has been the Locked On Warriors postcast. Fun one tonight, wire to wire win for the Warriors, 133-110 over the Houston Rockets, and essentially clinch a play in berth. The Warriors going back to the NBA play-in. And hopefully they can do some damage and make it into the actual NBA playoffs. We'll see. Again, that's all the time we got for you tonight. Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will see you next time. Peace.